Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
Shit, that ain't it. It really ain't.
Hey,
bro.
hey,
That shit
Dre,
was
you
bad.
gotta go if we gonna do this. Cube, you gotta go.
Fuck out of here, yo. You not talking
Nah,
to me?
nigga, both of y'all.
You talking to me?
Bye.
Go, Q. And Yola, get the fuck
Me
out
too.
of here, man. Yeah, so we can get this shit
Write the
done.
song, Cube. Shut the fuck up, Cube.
Take these with you, Cube.
Yola. Yes, man. Come on.
You know what?
Whatever. Whatever.
You motherfucker.
Come on,
You
Eazy.
finished, Dre? You want to laugh too? I stay in this bitch by myself.
Hey, just say the words, all right?
What does that even mean?
Man, just say the shit with me, all right? Cruising.
Cruising.
Yeah,
All right.
cruising.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Dre, you know this shit ain't gonna never work.
All right, you trying to be funny, but you see how you said that shit, right? Like you believe it?
Yeah, I believe that shit.
Then say this shit like you believe it, man. Like it's a motherfucking Sunday and you cruising down Crenshaw in a motherfucking 6'4".
Come on, say that shit like you believe it, man. Like it's your words. Feel that shit. Stop playing around. Loosen the fuck up. There you go.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
Oh, shit. Hey, that was dope, eh?
That shit was dope, man. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Hello and welcome to Down to Watch, where we talk about movies, music, TV, and just general pop culture goodness. If you haven't already, please follow us on Twitter at DTW Podcast or like us on Facebook, Down to Watch Podcast. I am Kahmeela,
I am Dan.
and this is episode 32, and we are coming straight out of Compton.
That's where we're coming from.
Well, actually, straight out of Lawrenceville, but still, we're going to talk about the movie Straight Outta Compton today. And I'm pretty excited about it. We haven't stopped talking about it. We watched it like 5 days ago, and it's been like a
Yeah,
complete
3 times
day.
since then. We've watched it 3 times.
All right, but first, before we get into the movie, this episode is sponsored by Horror Pack. Horror Pack is a horror movie subscription box. You can pick from 4 different plans, the most popular being $19.24 a month for 4, that's right, 4 horror Blu-rays or DVDs for 3 months. And those spectacular horror films are yours to keep. Now we have a special code just for our listeners. You get $3 off your first month. So just go to horrorpack.com, sign up, and use the code DownToWatchHP. That's DownToWatchHP. You get yourself a treat, and you let them know that sponsoring with us works, and we keep getting to bring you the podcast. Everybody wins. So make sure to go to horrorpack.com and check those guys out, and within the next couple episodes, we'll probably be unboxing one of their packs. Now, let's get into the show.
All right.
So, yes, there are going to be spoilers, as always, but,
This
if
came
you're-
out a while ago.
It came out last year. But if you're familiar with N.W.A. and anything about them, then that's not going to be much spoiled anyway. It's not going to be a bunch of surprises.
Gotcha.
So, Straight Outta Compton, released in 2015. Plot summary: the group N.W.A. emerges from the mean streets of Compton in Los Angeles, California, in the mid-1980s, and have revolutionized hip-hop culture with their music and tales about life in the hood. This was directed by F. Gary Gray and written by Jonathan Herman and Andrea Burloff. Now our histories with the movie, well, maybe not with the movie. I mean, this was our first viewing, but let's go with history with N.W.A.
Okay.
Did you have a history with N.W.A., Dan?
I was aware of it. Ice Cube and I are about the same age. He's 3 years older than I am.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what does that mean? Did you guys grow up together, or?
No. I grew up in Kansas. I'm a white boy from Kansas, yo, and Jewish at that. So, I understand about police arresting me because I'm a minority, although it never happened. Somehow, it seemed to strike a chord with a lot of people in my peer group. And so in 1988, when I believe this all began.
I think that's when Straight Outta Compton was released.
Yeah, okay.
25 years ago.
Okay, so maybe not when it all began, but when that album came out, I was 16 years old, and I definitely had friends that had no business using the N-word, singing along. Just, and I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I mean, like, police would chase us out of a farmer's field because we would have parties in the farmer's field. Somebody's pickup truck would be full of kegs, and they'd sell cups to everybody for like $2.
Yeah, but you guys probably got out of it without being...
Well, and we were doing stupid stuff.
Right.
We should be chased out of the, by police. Like, it's not like we were just standing on the corner having a happy burger or whatever that was,
burger.
a fat burger. So, only to say that, like, there was news elements that were used in this movie to show kind of not just why N.W.A. was relevant, but kind of why it made sense that these artists stood their ground on their material and performed what they performed and took the hits on the nose that they took in the media and on the Brian Gumbel show or whatever, all those different news, Today shows, whatever. I'm not very good at knowing what shows there are, but you know what I mean? Like, they got a lot of criticism, and
we're still just on your personal history.
yeah, N.W.A. So I knew they were controversial, and there was parents having talks with their kids about the music that they listened to because Tipper Gore told them to. She was speaking to my population, my peoples,
Kansas.
right? Kansas, yeah, Midwesterners, all voting Republican and against their own interest. I was working on my, at 16, I had a car, had a job, I was, taking pre-college courses. I had a mom and dad and brother, none of whom I'd lost maybe a neighbor to gun violence, a kid. Shot himself in the head playing Russian roulette, it's at a stupid, like, 9-year-old age or something like that. Wasn't a friend of mine. It was a friend of my older brother's, but nonetheless. None of us were affected by gun violence, and we're going to come back to gun violence. So I was aware. I was in college, I guess. In 1991, I graduated. In 92, I was a freshman in college when the Rodney King thing happened. And N.W.A. was still very relevant and popular at that point in time and came up again at that point in time. And I don't think I was really exposed to them in my own musical world at all, outside of maybe some Lollapalooza, splashback, because I think Ice Cube
played Lollapalooza.
Yeah, did some, and I was, I definitely went to a lot of Lollapalooza, so I'm sure I got some exposure there.
Gotcha. Well, for me personally, I think I was probably 14 when Straight Outta Compton came out, 13 or 14 maybe, and I was not allowed to listen to N.W.A., so I was familiar with them. I knew who they were, but I never really listened to their album, that full album, and I mean, it was also, they weren't necessarily, like, to me, I really didn't have that much interest in them anyway, because it was that gangster reality rap, and that really wasn't where I was in that
Right.
of life, so I personally was not their target audience.
Well, neither were the white girls whose pickup trucks I would climb into when I was 16, and they would have N.W.A. playing, and I would be like, what?
Which I just don't understand. Like, it's confusing to me. So, yeah. So, I mean, we weren't allowed to listen to it, and I was fine with it. I was like, okay, whatever, no big. And, I would see the videos come on MTV ever so often, and it just, again, I still knew enough, and I had seen enough, and I had heard Straight Outta Compton, the track. I had heard Fuck the Police, and maybe another song, enough to know that, I don't think this is for me. So, but as on the flip side, where Ice Cube is concerned, when he left N.W.A., that's who I was all about. I was all about Ice Cube, and for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe just I had gotten older. I was older at that point, a few more years older. It didn't seem quite as, I mean, I don't know why all of a sudden, like, that he was the one that I gravitated
Apparently he
towards.
has a very sexy resting bitch face.
He does. But I was seriously down with his album America's Most Wanted and then Death Certificate. So like, I have no idea like where the disconnect. Maybe. It's
And I did my research on O'Shea Jackson because as we were gearing up to watch it, I did the ultimate white guy faux pas and mixed up Ice-T and Ice Cube.
Shame on you.
And I couldn't delete the comments before the replies. It was just like, oh, it's too late. It's out there. It's gone. So, I did my research. And for those people that might be listening and struggling, Ice-T, he's got the reddish kind of tea color hair. Ice-T, this is a guy on SVU. So it's not ironic to me maybe that he's on there because I thought for the longest time that Ice-T was the guy that wrote F the Police. And that's why I thought it was so ironic that he was on SVU.
He had another song called Cop Killer.
Oh, okay, so still ironic, just for a different song.
Right.
Okay, and so therein lies my categorical confusion of the Ice-T, Ice Cube whole. But O'Shea Jackson, I'm sorry. Will never happen again. I'm sure that pisses you off like nothing. I am so sorry.
I had a giant.
I've done a ton of research on you since then, sir.
Ready to discuss any and everything that you've ever done. Yeah, I used to have like a giant in high school. I had this giant Ice Cube poster in my room, and it was just, I don't know, like, and yeah. So yeah, that's the history with it. And I did.
By the time I had graduated law school, O'Shea Jackson had 5 children.
We'll get to that.
Amazing.
But as far as this movie goes, like when I heard that it was being made and being released and everything, I really didn't have that much of an interest in seeing it. Like I was intrigued by it, but it just, again, because I was never really into NWA, I just didn't think that it was going to be something that I would enjoy, anything that I would connect with. And there was also this one thing that had leaked around before, while they were still filming the movie, that the casting call had been leaked, that they were ranking women. There was a call for extras, and they were ranking them from A to D. And they were like, and then A were like these drop dead gorgeous lighter skinned women with long like silky hair and stuff, and then down to D would be the darker skin and not that attractive, that kind of thing. And I just
Ain't the kind of list you want to let slip, bro.
exactly. So that kind of turned me off the whole thing. I was like, really?
Yeah.
This is what we're doing?
Yeah, well, yeah. Because they're a bunch of punk-ass kids, not much more mature than you are, and that's the way dudes can be at that age.
But, I mean, there wasn't a bunch of punk-ass kids that were fucking making this film.
Right.
Looking at you, F. Gary Gray. So, let's talk about the character and actor breakdown. O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, plays Ice Cube. How amazing is that?
He did a great job. He
was
honored
phenomenal.
the role, honored his father.
I think he's probably like 95% of the reason why I love this movie so much.
I can't wait to see the next thing he does.
Right. Corey Hawkins plays Andre Young, a.k.a. Dr. Dre. He also did a very good job.
Amazing.
We just learned that he's Juilliard trained.
Shakespeare.
So and a lot of these guys, this is like their first really big thing. Definitely their first
major movie motion picture,
or at least like starring role. A couple of them, I believe, was Corey was in Iron Man 3 as like waiter or like army guy number 2 or something like that. So it's not like they've had anything. They've been on the major.
He's getting his SAG credits,
but this is their first really big deal.
Well, that's huge. I mean, getting those SAG credits is huge. There's a whole hierarchy and a whole game that's laid out in movies that I think one of the reasons I think Ice Cube dominates movies as well as his lyrics and his songs. His portfolio of songs is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like that's like 7 lifetimes of work right there, just from this one dude. And his movies also, he was writer on the Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't write everything that he was in. He didn't write the Barbershop. I was kind of surprised. I'm sure he did a lot of consulting, but Barbershop, of course, and Friday. Friday's one of my favorite comedies of all time. I never get sick of Friday.
So good.
Can watch it all the time, over and over again. Never bores me. And then all the Barbershop movies, I feel they have a strong heart.
Mm-hmm.
And, doing community development work, I can definitely appreciate the whole Barbershop franchise.
Right.
And
it's just like a whole other culture in itself, just the barbershop in general.
Yeah, right. So I'm major jealous and proud, and just it's good to be an American and see this kind of ultimate Americana culture that's can't be made anywhere else. It is truly the American experience.
Right.
And N.W.A. was very much about that too. I love it. They're like, we're just singing about what we see when we open our door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're sorry if it makes you uncomfortable and you're offended by it. We didn't make it.
Right,
You know, we're not the ones with passports and money.
Right. Okay, so we've got we also have Jason Mitchell, who plays Eazy-E, Eric Wright. Another phenomenal job. He was like, and I think Eazy-E is probably one of the reasons why I never gravitated towards N.W.A. too, because his rapping voice is not.
Eazy-E was my favorite, but we'll get back to that.
Okay, but Jason Mitchell, bra fucking bo, like he. Was
Oh
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Neil Brown Jr. plays DJ Yella, and he provided some comic relief.
Oh yeah.
He was also very good.
Yeah, and
apparently, like we watched that thing, the interview with like with the real NWA.
Yeah.
Apparently, like I guess Yella is that Joker.
Yeah, like he was, you know, both MC Ren and DJ Yella were such great friends.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed friends with everybody. You know, like there was beef. You know, there was even diss raps and all that other fun stuff. But these guys were some of the most loyal friends you could probably ever have.
Right. And speaking of DJ Ren, or MC Ren, played by Aldous Hodge, who most people would know him from Leverage. And
Right. Love him.
And he's great, and I'm glad that he's getting a lot more work. He's also going to be in a new television show, and I forget what network it's on, but it's called The Underground. And he plays a slave, and it's about slave on a plantation. And I think like Journey Smollett, the guy who played Stabler on SUV.
I guess he's catering to the Oscar Academy.
Well, I don't know, like, and I didn't read it, but I recently come across like through my Facebook feed. There was an article or something that he had written for Entertainment Weekly, and was like why I decided to play a slave. I didn't read it yet, but I'd be interested to see what his thoughts are, like why, like what were his reasonings. And we've got Paul Giamatti, who plays their manager Jerry Heller.
A fictionalized caricature of Jerry Heller, because I don't want us to get hit with the defamation lawsuit, because this guy's so happy he's sued everybody. He's like, this is an unfair depiction of me. It wasn't even about you, bro.
He's very much against the depiction of him, the real life Jerry Heller.
Yes.
Very much against.
He would never have a lobster brunch. That's not kosher. Oh, now I'm being anti-Semitic. No, it's just about you, Jerry. It's just about you.
So I was just I was taken aback by how much I enjoyed this movie. There were a couple of things that I could have done without. I could have done without all the naked breasts. And all
right, it was, yeah.
There was so much. Like, we could have just alluded to
when
it.
They ask
so
Ice Cube later in other interviews, they're like, was there any part of the filming that was hard to watch? I thought for sure he was going to be like, it was hard for me to watch my son play me acting irresponsible with all those women getting, you know, unprotected sex, all that other stuff. That's what I thought he was going to say. He didn't touch that. he just acted like that didn't happen. Like,
well, I don't think it was actually that much. Like, that he was portrayed as doing that much in the film. Having a bunch of unprotected, or just having a bunch of sex, or a bunch of, like, he was in the mix.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
But
there wasn't any. Yeah, that's true.
And I guess it comes across that we're told that, you know, he basically got with the woman that he's married to this day.
Oh yeah,
Locked
married
him down,
early.
like,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
early, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm sorry, but there was one scene on the bus where he was getting grinded pretty hard.
Okay.
And I was like, that would be.
That'd be
If I were his dad watching that, it would be a hard scene for me to watch. That's all.
What scene did he pick? That was a hard scene to watch.
Oh, Eazy-E dying, dying Vades.
So the movie opens up, and they're introing Eazy-E / Eric Wright, and I think it starts in '86, and they're just showing us that he's a dope dealer, and in a way that kind of helps you understand later, and it comes into importance, is that, you know, he's about that money.
Yeah,
because he's in the situation that he could be killed any moment, because he's the only dude. He goes in this dope house and somebody else's dope house, and somebody shorted him.
Yeah, they didn't have any money. and they were gonna offer him like drugs or something else of value, and he's
Yeah.
like, "No, screw that.
Give me my money.
I'm about that money. Where's my money at?"
And they try to lock him in and get ready to, and then threaten to
Yeah,
kick him out.
yeah.
But yeah, and you know,
He's got a plan B. It shows that he's smart. He had a
Right.
plan,
right.
and then barring that, he was quick on his feet because the police came and put a ramming thing through the door.
I never even seen
a
anything
tank
like that before. Yeah,
with
it
a
was
clown face on it.
I've never seen anything like that in a movie or otherwise in my life.
It just like it's a tank that instead of having a cannon, it has a ramming head on it,
So that's what they did in
and
the
just
80s
drove the
in-
doors
in
through.
LA.
I
That's
guess
just-
so.
That's
I guess that was some real equipment.
wow.
I don't know. I'm sure lots of these parts were fictionalized.
Well,
It's
yeah, but I'm not
sensationalized.
saying that this happened to him specifically, but
Right.
I'm sure that
Oh yeah, nuts.
that
Yeah.
existed.
Oh,
when
yeah.
that happened.
So nonetheless, he escapes. They show him cleverly escaping,
Mm.
and then they focus in on Dre. And now we meet Dre, which starts with a box of crates,
Which I
the
love.
crates of vinyls.
I do enjoy how they introduce each one. Well, at least the main three. How they introduce Eazy and Cube and Dre.
Excellent font choice.
And we get introduced to Dre, and he's like in his room, headphones on, laying on like a bunch of records strewn across the floor, and just into his music.
Right.
And he has forgotten a job interview that his mom has set up.
Right. Na 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 na.
The point where, you know, they have
With his
words.
headphones on, which his mama can't be mad about those headphones now.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope. I hope Mama Dre.
Hope she got
Mama
some
Young.
headphone money.
Yes. Hope she's still alive and able to realize, you know, and just see and enjoy and be proud of her son, because man, he is like one as far as one of the bigger names in music goes. Dr. Dre, he's absolutely taken
Yes.
over. Has taken over. And who would have thunk?
He did.
He knew.
He knew.
He-
One of the first people he produced, arguably, was Eazy-E.
Mhm.
And getting back to
Produced the
Eazy,
hell out of him.
getting back to Eazy, what I liked about him is his sound anyway was accessible. It wasn't like he was a great rapper. He's one of those people that benefited from the fact that hip hop could be for anybody
Mhm.
who just put confidence and emotion into their words
Mhm.
over some beats that Dr. Dre gave you.
Amazing beats.
That's an important part. Like,
Yes.
same could be said for other people, I'm sure, like the Neptune Brothers or other
Right.
kinds of amazing dope beat makers.
Oh yeah, Pharrell. Like there's a lot of stuff that Pharrell and the Neptune brothers in general have done that, you know, this beat is wicked, but these lyrics and this rapper is not so much, or this whoever is
Right,
performing
right,
over
right.
and that's kind of what keeps me away from most of today's music. There's the beats are not lacking, but the lyrics and the content and the performers
Right.
are.
It was more interesting and to a certain extent, Dre has stuck with the whole concept of the reality rap.
Mm-hmm.
That's, his portfolio of artists. If you include Cube being part of that repertoire, possibly,
Right.
their friendship. Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Eminem, 50 Cent, all reality rappers.
Yeah, this is true. So Dre's there, and Cube, we get introduced to Cube. He's on a school bus
Yeah.
and leaving, and so it's
On the way to
hilarious.
school.
He's coming from school, but it's
Oh.
hilarious to me how you get like the way that these three intros are set up. That it connects them all three, but it also shows there's a big difference in how they're living their lives at that point. E is all up in the dope world and running from cops and battering rams and just narrowly escaping death. Dre has got he's got a solid home life foundation. His dad might not be there, but his mom is very concerned about his well-being. He's got a brother there, and she's got a simple rule: either you're going to school or you're
Got a job.
Like that's it.
And he's like, I'm an entrepreneur pioneer.
She's like, not so much, not in this house.
Right.
And, he decides.
Which is what every entrepreneur pioneer's mother and father say. So.
right. But then again, like I kind of wonder exactly. He must have been like just fresh 18 or something at that point.
Yeah, right,
Something
right.
crazy.
Time to be hustling out the house.
Right.
Give your brother his own room.
And Cube, when we're introduced to him, he's on the school bus, and Tears for Fears starts to play. And so it's obvious that he goes to a predominantly white school because he's looking. There's a bus full of black kids and a couple of Latinos.
Right.
And he's looking out at all the white kids in their new cars, and they've got their new clothes and everything like that.
Yeah,
so.
he lived in South L.A. and he was the only member of N.W.A. that was not from Compton.
Look at you with all your
O'Shea Jackson.
Ice Cube knowledge.
My fresh Icy Cube knowledge. That's right. That's what it is.
And, yeah,
Fresher than you.
And he went to some prep school. He went to some preparatory school, but that did not.
Got a degree in architectural engineering, drawing, or something like that. Architectural drawing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. So the intros, and it's real interesting. And Cube is just sitting on the bus writing rhymes and everything. And there's this stupid kid, like they're driving back home to the hood, and these kids are just random. Like they see a car with Bloods in it, and.
Bloods or Crips?
Bloods, and the kids were trying to claim Crips.
Gotcha.
And so they're throwing
Oh,
up
see, I had
signs.
no idea what was going on there.
The kids are throwing up Crip signs to them. So, what's up, cuz? That's
Gotcha.
a Crip thing.
Oh, huh.
And, they're doing, and I don't know exactly how to do it, but there's, a Crip sign. And, so they're doing
Stacking
all this.
fingers.
They're doing all this, and they're thinking they're safe on the bus, and the guys end up stopping the bus.
Right, pull the bus over.
And get up on it.
Right.
When,
with the gun in hand.
and don't.
Hey, hello, children. Better stay in school. They basically gave him like a motivational, just keep your nose in the books. You don't never. Right. 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 Puts the cold end of a pistol on the jackass's head that was throwing the wrong signs out the window.
Right, he's like, I'm just playing.
I might be the dude that kills you. It's like, this is my address.
A lot of mixed signals from this.
He's like, just playing. I'm just playing. Just wetting myself. Now, Cube's like, this is awesome. I'm so glad this is happening to him. I'm taking notes. Right on. Okay. I caught your address. I'll be staying the hell away from that street.
So we see that, at least Dre and Cube, they're already all on the musical track.
Yeah, right.
And as soon as Cube gets home, he goes straight across the street to, I guess, Dre's house.
Well, that was a bit
Or
fictionalized, but
house.
yeah.
I don't know. That's where music.
His aunt's house.
Okay. But why was Dre? Okay, but Dre was there.
Yeah, Dre was there because I guess he was a good friend.
Okay, that's cool. And so he goes there.
He's an amazing DJ.
Actually, there's a house, and that's where music is happening. Like Dre is on the turntables, and he's scratching it up, and they're talking about making music and whatnot. And after this, there's a real kind of like a scene where Cube is just trying to leave and walk across the street to his house. Literally, just walk across the street to his house, and the cops are out there detaining a couple other dudes.
Right.
And Cube is just has nothing to do with this. He's carrying school books.
Still being a little cocksure, like he's just gonna walk through this melee on his way to, microwave bowl of mac and cheese. nothing. Like I would have turned back around, gone back in the house, and said, "Let's wait till this shit cools down until whatever. I'm gonna go out the back way, and go around the block, or something." Nobody in their right mind is just like, "Oh, cool. I'm just gonna walk through this shit and think."
Hey, evening, officer.
Right.
So he gets detained and he gets slammed up against he gets harassed, slammed on a cop car.
And they show this great scene of his parents, like, the parents in the movie being like, "That's my baby, that's my son, you leave him alone, like, we're going to be right here." They're like, and the cops are being rude to them, being like, "Get off the street or I'll make your day a nightmare." "So I got to talk rude to my mom." They're like, where they stand on their property. They're like, "We're on our property. There ain't nothing you can do about it." They're like, "We're right here, son." And they like,
It was a nice depiction.
It was a great scene.
It was a great way to let us know just a little bit about who his parents were or what they stood for. And how without getting into like this whole deep thing.
Right.
And a whole extra 7 scenes about his parents.
Right.
So it was a really good, a great scene in that aspect. So, eventually, what I learned from this is that Eazy-E would not have been, N.W.A. probably would not have happened if they did not know Eazy-E.
That's right.
And if he was not flush with dope cash.
Right.
As he were, because Dre went to him to invest. he wanted Eazy-E to invest in.
That's how the movie showed it.
Right. Well, did you look up any?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
What was the?
Yes, every time you'll know because I'll say, well, that's what the movie said.
Well, what were your findings?
It was kind of there's some truth in advertising in as much as Eazy-E did bail out Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre in the movie knocks this dude out for like messing with his little brother. And that's probably to show that Dr. Dre probably has knocked out a few people for his little brother. Just to show how much he loved and try to protect his little brother. In fact, it was for some parking tickets.
Oh, that's what he went to jail for?
Yeah. And Eazy-E bailed him out. It was like, you're going to lay a track down for my, on one of my albums.
So this is Dre's way of giving
Paying him back for the bailout money on the parking. Yeah.
Got my album.
Right, easy, ever entrepreneurial. Like it just I felt greater affinity for Eazy, knowing that. And I'm sure there's probably some effort, also on Dr. Dre's part to impress that idea upon Eazy that would be okay.
Right.
And I'm sure there was, friendship built there too about, you could make a legit living that the cops can't take from you if you invest in music.
Right.
And vinyl. And vinyl played a huge part in the hip-hop game. And those little tiny vinyl presses, always impressive. Because back then, DJs literally still played vinyl.
Right.
There wasn't iPods and MP3 players and all that jazz. It wasn't people loading up their playlists and just bouncing around like they played vinyl records. And even in new music that came out in the neighborhood, you could still afford, if you had like $200, $500, you could get a box of like 100 to 300 vinyl records pressed up.
Right. Even as early as like when I was still going to raves in like 2000, 2001, 2002, there were still like our DJs rolled in with crates of vinyl.
Right.
And you watched them scratch on the turntables, and it was amazing. That's
if that happened at one of the bar mitzvahs I went to, that would probably be a damage or a loss claim on an insurance form from that DJ.
But it's just an amazing thing to like sit there to be able to watch that. And we went to a party the other night, and I thought personally that the music was good. I had a good time, but it's also there was that bit of missing of watching that DJ perform.
Right.
There's still like an era of performance that
the
I
ones and
missed.
twos.
Yeah, and this DJ had a laptop, and like I said,
They had the right hat on.
They were fine. They were very good. I enjoyed the playlist. I enjoyed the tunes, but it was just something missing there.
Well, what they did in the modern DJ, and I think this DJ in particular did this since we're talking about it, was mix together their own video that kind of went with their music set. And so they played the film in the background.
Actually, I think there were two separate things. I think somebody else was messing with the visuals.
Oh, well.
So, anywho, little fun fact here. Eazy-E and MC Ren were the only members of N.W.A. who actually belonged to a street gang.
And MC Ren, of course, being the famous second part of Ren and Stimpy, or is that a different Ren?
It's a different Ren.
Are they
Ren
related?
Comes from his name is Lorenzo. That's why his name is Ren.
I was hoping there was a Ren and Stimpy. I didn't do as much research on MC Ren. Sorry.
They were both members of the Kelly Park Compton Crips, a Crips sect in the Kelly Park neighborhood of Compton. They were friends long before N.W.A. was formed, and they gang banged and sold drugs together before venturing into music.
Huh.
So, but it's also what I do appreciate much more about N.W.A. and which just kind of helped really get to it from this movie is that Eazy-E and Ice Cube and Dr. Dre were extremely intelligent individuals.
Oh yeah.
Like there were maybe aspects, like there were some things like maybe Eazy-E, he got blinded by the glitz and the glamour along the way and kind of, clouded his judgment.
Is that what you're calling TNA? Glitz and glamour?
And money and, nice things and lobster brunches.
Eazy-E might have had a lobster, but Jerry never had a lobster. There was no depiction. Nobody said that he had a lobster brunch. Maybe it was just Eazy-E's lobster brunch. Maybe it was a table next to him. Why you gotta be so sensitive about a lobster brunch, Jerry?
He was generalizing. It was like, maybe one day I'll have a lobster brunch.
Right.
He's just saying,
He didn't say, "Hey, Jerry Heller, the real Jerry Heller, had a real lobster brunch at this moment, this time, when I had this conversation." Was he really wearing a Michael Jordan T-shirt at the time too? I mean, are we really getting that picky?
But yes, Eazy-E probably, he got blinded by everything. But Cube, he was depicted as always being on top of the game. Every time Jerry would come around, like there was the one point where they were working on the album, and Jerry comes in and he gives Eazy his contracts to sign and mentions nobody else. And
Right.
Cube is like, "Yo, what about the rest of us?" And they're like, "Oh, he's trying to give him some cock and bull about, they're working on it." And I don't know how long, like in calendar time, it took between that and when Cube finally decided enough was enough. But they had at least gone on tour.
Cube had bounced in 1989, if that helps at all.
Okay. So that's about a couple years of him going without any solid contracts. And I think what I read was that Cube, in the contracts, Cube was not mentioned as an actual member of N.W.A. or something like that, which is why he was that was one of the reasons why this was not a good deal for him.
Well, it's interesting because when I look up the credits and all that stuff in his music career, there he gets credit for these albums as O'Shea Jackson, but he's had his name legally changed to Ice Cube. And when you IMBD O'Shea Jackson Jr. comes up.
He's had his name legally changed to Ice Cube. Are you sure about that, or is it just
that's what it says
listed on IMDb? There's difference.
I'm gonna go with both and let the world Google it and comment at Down to Watch later. Like, it's not that serious. Maybe it is that serious that he legally changed his name. In any event, he gets credited as Ice Cube later. In any event, there was a lawsuit in which O'Shea Jackson said they settled out of court. I'm sure he won. Like, what he should have got is some copyright credit for all the songs that he wrote. You look at Eazy-E's musical credits, I guess he gets to claim some kind of ownership. Ruthless Records probably, without knowing. I'm totally speculating. This could be wrong, and please don't sue me, Jerry. But, like, there's statutory royalty payouts in copyright law for the person that sings it, for the person that, records it, for the person that writes it. There's performance. So there's recording artist contract versus a songwriter contract. And in certain instances, Ice Cube was both the songwriter and the recording artist. And then there were cases where he was a songwriter and Eazy-E was the recording artist, like Boys in the Hood. That was, O'Shea Jackson wrote that. But nonetheless, what a lot of labels do, since the Lomax brothers, is like, we own all the copyright in your music and we give you your royalty. And so labels typically would own everything. And so it could, I have no idea because they didn't look at their contracts, but a typical contract was like, label gets 95%, the artist gets 5%. Yeah, right? They're not great. And while I'm sure what Jerry did was all legal and the way the business works, those guys probably didn't realize it. And so is it greedy? Yes. Again, speculating, I don't know. Nobody freaking sue me. But nonetheless, the music industry isn't known for having really favorable contracts towards the artists.
Right.
So publication rights is what's really everything, because if somebody does another version of it later, you as the writer still get paid. Gotcha. You as the recording artist don't get paid again because somebody else did that song again because they're the new recording artist of that song. Right. So that's where it really matters. And so Cube really did have a strong argument because he, you saw the stuff that he wrote on that album, and it's pretty much without that, there were no hits on that album. You know what I mean? Like, all of his stuff was the moneymaker. Yeah. And without a contract in place, he had a fair argument that without it being clarified, there's no presumption that the label owns everything.
Right.
So there's probably some corners cut in putting the deal together. It shouldn't have been, but that's why it's statutory, to protect artists.
I see. So Cube is is actually just to the point he's questioning his contracts all the time and questioning what Jerry's where Jerry's loyalties lie.
Yes.
Or
Who is the fiduciary duty?
Yeah, who is his main interest? And it's very clear in the movie that it's Eazy-E. That's who he's got his sights set on, and he's the one that, I don't know. To me, once again, this is just speculation, and this is just me. And in my opinion, the way the movie portrayed the relationship between Jerry Heller and Eazy-E, it seemed like there was something much more, or at least Jerry wanted there to be something much more.
Oh, you're going to get us sued.
In my opinion.
Let's call it a father-son relationship as a compromise.
Sure. So another thing about this movie that was great.
Okay, let's not call it a father-son. Let's call it. It was creepy.
It was creepy. It was very. He put a lot of energy and emotion into Eazy-E. Jerry
Yes.
Heller did.
Yes.
And there was so much when Eazy-E finally got wise and decided to break away from him and fire Jerry. Now it could just be because he sees this big cash cow walking out his house, and that's why he was so broken up and crying real tears.
In the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Well, Jerry wasn't consulted on how he emotionally reacted or what was actually said.
Well, truth, and nobody knows what went down in that moment because he's
Right.
dead.
But we would suspect that it was emotionally difficult, and if you needed to show that in a movie, somebody would cry and act a fool.
Truth.
And so Jerry, portrayed by,
Paul Giamatti.
did a very good job of expressing dissatisfaction with the division in the relationship. And maybe he wasn't fired. Maybe that was just a movie trickery. Maybe that was just Hollywood glitz.
Well, if anybody is concerned about and really cares about Jerry's side, he has written a memoir.
He has. I'm sure he's getting paid on that.
I think
Buy
it's
a
called
bunch. Burn him.
Ruthless
He doesn't
something.
care.
I think it's called Ruthless : something. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I'm sure it is.
So yeah, check out his book if you really care about his side of the story. We, on the other hand, do not have his side of the story, and everything that we're saying is speculation and
Based on the movie.
based on the movie.
But another thing in the movie, they show that Jerry approached Eazy-E in the vinyl store. According to the fact checkers of the interwebs, Eazy-E, being the suave entrepreneur he was, paid somebody to do an introduction.
Really?
Yes, so that he could meet Jerry and see if Jerry would help them sell the record. So, again, Eazy-E was the glue. He did what he was supposed to do. He got Jerry to get
He's a
these guys
hustler.
a deal. He got them a deal. All said and done, Jerry and Eazy-E did what they were supposed to do as a label
Right.
and a publishing company to get them done, except for explain the artist's rights and roles and responsibilities and royalties.
Right.
Right.
Which, I guess that's kind of something. Would you suggest an artist or have a lawyer go with them? Or have a lawyer
Absolutely.
going into
Yeah,
something
Ice
like
Cube,
that?
if he was in the movie or not. In the movie, they show Ice Cube when Jerry's like, okay, here's your contract and
Right.
here's a check. You sign the contract, I'll give you this check.
Right.
Okay, there's flag number one. He'd be like, all right, if you already wrote the check, there's no reason for you to
Right.
not wait 48 hours for me to sit down with a lawyer to look this over.
Right.
Anybody who tells you don't have a lawyer look at it is hiding something.
Right.
You're better off just suing him in court, which is what ended up happening. Jerry's trying to explain his math and all that shit after the fact. It's like, okay, yeah, that math works so long as you buy the presumption that everybody deserves an equal share. But if you're the writer, you get a share of everything
Right.
that you wrote. And if you're the recording artist and the writer, you get a bigger share. So, he probably deserved a little piece he needed a bigger piece than what he was getting. He didn't deserve an equal share. He deserved the fair share. So that's probably, again, speculation. But nonetheless, Eazy brought Jerry into the mix to get them to deal with Priority Records, which I was also fascinated to hear the Priority Records portfolio consisted of the California Raisins.
That came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea anything about that. First of all, I don't think I was 100% sure that they sold the California Raisins sold records.
You don't get that gold or platinum standard unless you sold some records.
I didn't know that it was like that. Like,
he
I just-
went gold,
I just
so they
assumed
sold
that-
some records.
I just assumed they just were the commercials.
Right? I mean, I remember having the set. You could go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they collect each of the raisins. And there was a little tiny, like, rubber toy. And I had all of them. I don't know how I acquired all of them, but I did. I had them
You
all.
went to Kentucky Fried Chicken a lot, apparently.
That or maybe I was a swim coach and my teammates, whatever. The kids would go, they would bring them back like it was a thing.
Shake them down.
Anyway,
Shake down kids.
for a lot of people, it's their introduction to Marvin Gaye. Right? So, yeah.
Never seen it, I heard it through the grapevine.
Right.
And I guess it was just they were just selling raisins. Okay.
Yeah, that'll remain a mystery.
Yeah. So I mean, this film. I mean, there's so many great scenes in it, and they touch most of the major points in N.W.A.
Including the breakup.
Including the breakup.
And the makeup.
And
the death of Eazy-E.
And once again, because I wasn't as privy to N.W.A. at the time, I don't think I was aware that this was like that it was a salty breakup.
Well, all right. All this happens between 1988 and 1995.
Right. And it's just...
It's amazing. It's mind-blowing. Was that 9 years? Is that right? No.
No, it's
7
like
years?
7.
7 years.
Yeah. And
It's just amazing.
And the disc records, which I miss disc records, I guess, and I know you're not aware of this, but and I haven't heard either one of them yet because I don't listen to these people, but as of late, the most recent disc records that have been going back and forth are between some artist called Meek Mills and then another one named Drake.
Meek and Drake.
Yeah, and I don't...
Gotta work on your names. They're both a little Abercrombie Finch.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I mean, I know more about Drake than I know about this Meek Mills character, and I don't really care that much. But, so, I forget the year, but once Cube left, I don't know why they felt it upon themselves. N.W.A. thought they were going to try it and release a diss record about Cube.
And 100 million miles?
100 miles and running.
100 miles and running.
And Cube was like, I reached an entire ass album without saying nobody's name on it. And
right.
Now you guys are coming at me. And then he immediately burns the fucking house down with no Vaseline.
Right.
And just like shuts them all down.
Oh, yeah, right. He won that one.
What do you do?
No doubt.
He absolutely fucked all of them up.
Right.
And to this day, that like I don't think when that song was released that I really knew what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
100% what was happening.
But you knew the emotion behind it.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like that
Right.
That shit was hot. Like,
It was. He's like, "Oh, I'm glad you said something. Finally, now I get to let this all out. I've been waiting. This has been marinating for you." And they're still friends now too, which is great.
Which makes me wonder, like, how do you?
That's just how it is.
I mean,
The
yeah.
battle raps are a real thing.
Yeah,
It's not like they invented them. That's just
But it's just crazy to me, like knowing that you're like sitting there and you're cool with these people that you just talked about how,
you call it
Eazy-
Joan and
about
St.
how
Louis, yeah.
Eazy smelled like. Eazy
Well, that's
smells
hardcore.
like
Yeah, I mean, you
Eazy
don't ever
shit.
want to get into a battle rap with Cube. Apparently, you just know. You just like, oh nope, I'm sorry. Yeah, have my milk money. I don't want you insulting me.
I just feel like there could have been a lot of uncomfortable situations at that point. I don't know if I could ever still be friendly with someone who had released a diss record about me.
No, you could not. No, you could not. You're not from the same streets as those boys.
So we've got, Cube is still not without people still trying him. He's still with Priority. And I guess he had tried to have a deal, like they weren't going to give him money, whatever. But at some point, they don't give him his money.
When he breaks off from N.W.A, Priority Record. What did I say?
N.W.A?
No, I said N.
Okay.
Maybe I just mispronounced. Anyway, thanks for that. Moving on. When Ice Cube rolled off from them, Priority Records was like, "Look, we'll give you a 2-record deal." That's what he said to him. It was like, basically, I'm not going to give you a lot on the first one, but I'll make it up to you on the second one.
Okay.
And so the second album comes around. Again, like you said, burns the house down. And he's like, "Where's my money?" And Brian from Priority Records.
California Raisins.
With
He never had to deal with it. I mean, actual artists.
Right, because they were just raisins.
And Cube doesn't take too kindly to that.
he's like, I'm not trying to delay your money, man.
And he comes back. He's like, okay, that's cool. He leaves and he comes back with a baseball bat and tears the place up and just like busts
Smashes all the records that Cubit earned him.
Yep.
That are on his walls.
Yep. And yeah.
It's like, take it out of what do you owe me?
And you know, in this movie, like we touch on that, and we even get we get Suge Knight in there, which I had no idea he was as much of Satan as he was. Like, I knew he was a troublemaker, but damn, like this man. And apparently, like I was looking at some stuff.
No respect for other human beings.
No whatsoever.
Everyone's a commodity to him.
Somebody, it's this is something here. So it's widely believed that Eazy-E contracted. While it is widely believed that Eazy-E contracted AIDS due to his promiscuous sexual behavior, there is also a popular conspiracy theory that he actually got it from Suge Knight. The belief is that during the brutal beating depicted in the film, Knight also punctured him with a contaminated syringe. Knight himself made comments to this effect on Jimmy Kimmel's talk show. Whether they were sincere or made on poor jest is not known. It's... I mean, damn, like how extremely, that is the deepest, doggest, dirtiest, lowest, straight up from hell bullshit that I've never in my life heard anything as low down dirty dog as that.
Who names a label?
Death Row.
Exactly.
Lucifer. And has like, you know, the electric chairs there in the office, and that's on the label. That's the imagery that you like.
Right.
So yeah. So wouldn't that be some shit if that's the actual? And I guess Eazy-E's son believes this to be the case. Adding further support to the story is the fact that despite fathering 7 children with 6 women and never undergoing treatment for the disease, none of his children or their respective mothers ever contracted the virus.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, Suge Knight. Wow. I'm not going to get too deep into that because Lord knows he has a temper tantrum. He has a temper. He doesn't like things not going his way. But there's some pretty wicked scenes in the movie, and there's also
They dress him in a red suit.
no, that's how he dresses.
Okay. Well, then he's going for that image.
Yes, that's what
He's going for that image.
We also see Snoop Dogg. They do some Snoop when he and Dre make Nothing But a G Thing and the Chronic album. We've also get just a little touch, a little taste of Tupac, which I'm still waiting for the Tupac movie to come out, which I'll be very thrilled about that. So I mean, so on and on. I'm shocked that with all of these great performances and all this great direction, and especially after watching the interview with F. Gary Gray and the cast and producers and stuff, that not even as a director was he there was no Oscar nominations for no supporting actors and no directing. There was Professor agrees. There were no nominations for. They were only nominated for original screenplay.
That's ridiculous. The kid that played Eazy-E, what's his name?
Jason Mitchell.
Amazing acting.
Yeah. And it was shocking to me too because all of these, like we said, they're all basically known newcomers, new actors, and I was expecting, like when the real emotional scenes came across, like when Eazy-E dies, that's when things were gonna fall apart. Like I just didn't expect there to be any sort of real emotion or anything to get through. I was like, it's been a good movie so far, but
I can't help it, but every time I see men cry on film now, the scene from Tropic Thunder rolls through my head. You gotta spit when you cry. and don't go full retard. I'm sorry.
But yes, so Jason Mitchell was amazing when Eazy finds out that he has contracted this virus and that it's just my god. And at no point did this film fall apart in acting, or it was
no, yeah, right. Everybody did a great job.
Yeah, so
and there even the way the scenes were cut, Like the direction was great. Whoever the director of photography was.
Oh, director of
Just the way the framing worked on the scenes and the way that the framing worked to move the action and the story. I was very aware of how a shot was cropped, because how much you saw going on in the background, and the way that was used to introduce characters or move a character's character forward.
Right, and even like the concert scenes, those were also done really well.
Oh yeah, amazing, man.
So there's so much in this movie that we are not going to be able to touch on all of it. So just go watch it. But I mean, if you haven't, and there are some fun facts here.
All right.
Thoughts. The actual scratching when Dre is on the turntables done by DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Oh really?
Yes.
Nice.
So I thought that was pretty neat. The actors re-recorded N.W.A.'s entire Straight Outta Compton album to help them get into character, which, damn. Just one more thing, and I think that really, I'm sure that helped them immensely get into character and stay into character, because they were all in it for real. Like, I absolutely believed each and every one of them, especially O'Shea Jr. My God.
Right. Can I talk about the actors for a second before you go with the rest of your fun facts? So in terms of acting, there's a scene also where Dr. Dre's brother, he loses his brother to violence. And there's a moment there where the whole band gets together, N.W.A., and they talk about different people they've lost to street violence.
Right.
That was a very powerful scene right there.
Yeah.
Like that scene, I see it being visualized, or showing up at vigils again and again.
Right.
It's still a very relevant topic today, 25 years later. We're no further along on figuring out street violence.
Right.
I'm not even going to say gun violence, 'cause I don't want the NRA on my ass.
Yeah, just street violence.
The persecuted gun holders.
But no, you're right. We're still basically like all the tales of everything that happened to them in 1986 could have happened today.
Yeah,
It has
Trayvon
happened
Martin.
today, yes.
Yeah,
And-
right.
And it's sick and it's sad that that's
Mike Brown.
still the case.
Oh yeah, it goes on and on. And we needed truth sayers out there. People are like, "Oh, that's not pretty." You think fucking Miley Cyrus twerking is pretty? That is not, okay?
No.
And neither is F the police. I'm not advocating effing the police or effing any particular labor union.
But I mean, but when you think about it, and I recently, yesterday, today, I went and listened to Straight Outta Compton album. We both listened to it, and I listened to the lyrics of a lot of them. And sure, there are some. It's really not that hateful. Like the lyrics that they're going on.
They were fair and balanced. Actually,
Yeah.
he's talking about. I mean, it's really about, everybody who hates the song "F the Police." Send your thank you letters or your grievances to the Torrance Police Department in southern Los Angeles, because there's really Torrance.
Right.
I mean, these guys. This thing really apparently happened in Torrance, where they got their burgers slapped out of their hands and told, basically shook down in front of the recording studio.
Yeah.
You guys lost? Nah. You niggas supposed to be somewhere?
Yeah. Here, we working.
Oh, you working? Yeah, I bet.
What we do?
We'll find out in a minute what you did.
What's this? Hey, shut the fuck up.
Get your ass on the ground now. Get on the ground.
On the ground? What you supposed to do with this?
On the ground.
What we do?
Hey, get down. Get on the ground now.
Get your punk ass on the ground. Let's go.
Get the fuck down.
Hands behind your back, interlock your fingers.
This is fucked up.
Interlock them.
Fuck you got us on the ground like this for, officer?
For our protection, there's 7 of you and 4 of us. So sit tight and let us do our
Hey,
job.
officer, I'm sorry. What is going
Sir,
on out?
can you stay right there, please? We're trying to check these bangers, make sure they're clean.
All right, I'm sorry. These are not bangers, okay? These are artists.
Excuse me, artists?
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah,
What kind of artists?
rappers, and they're working with me in the studio right now.
Well, see, rap is not an art. And I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm the manager.
Well, you're wasting your time, Mr. Manager.
You gotta
'cause
be kidding me.
You're wasting your time.
Really?
These clients of yours, these
Yeah,
rappers,
yeah.
they look like gang members.
You can't come down here and arrest people just because of what they look like. Are you crazy? But that's police harassment.
And so he went in and he tore this song out. Ice Cube wrote this song out about that experience, although there were several experiences leading up to it. One would also think that this contributes. And you had, the reason why the whole O.J. Simpson trial was a victory in the African American community wasn't that it was about O.J.'s innocence or guilt. It was about what messed that case up was L.A. Police Department's corruption and racism, and how they just routinely played with people's evidence and routinely, ran a case against people of color differently than other people.
Right.
And so that's what the victory was with the O.J. Simpson case, which also happened after that time, after 95, I think. Or no, before 95, but it was in the late 90s.
Yeah.
You had Rodney King in 1992, and, there was an interview with Ice Cube, and they're like, what all has changed since 1988? And he's like, well, now everybody can record it on their phones, and you can see it happening while it's happening, and people can't deny it as much, and body cameras and all that stuff. It's just accountability.
And it's shocking to me how even though that the cameras and the cell phone cameras still exist, and there's been several cases within the last year of where people have caught and captured the police violence and the undue
excessive force.
Yeah, excessive force on people who are or children.
Yeah, right.
Who are unarmed. They're still lying through their teeth, and they're still you see it plain as day right there, caught on camera. There's a video, and they're like, nope, that's it might as well be trying to pull a Jedi mind trick. Nope, that's not me.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. So it's surprising me that they're still in that mindset of that. Yes, I can absolutely still get away with this, even though I am been caught dead to rights on camera.
Well, yeah. Part of it is, it's a two-way street. Part of it is the prevalence of guns in everybody's hands. It does make it a less safe street to patrol. And there are younger kids out there with less of a sense of accountability and less of a connection to reality, just because they're constantly stimulated with associational signals, like be this brand name or act like this movie or act like this actor or singer. Just, everybody's a frickin' mockingbird out here. Real, original thoughts, feelings, expressions, conversations. I mean, everything's so virtual now.
So the original cut for the film was 3.5 hours long.
Wow, that's long.
And I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind watching that. I would see it one time through just to see what went down, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that happened that you just couldn't absolutely get into an hour and a half or 2 hours. Jerry Heller later said that one of his greatest regrets was dissuading Eazy-E from killing Suge Knight.
Whatever, Jerry. Who witnessed that conversation? Right.
Jerry.
Right. Of course, that's what he says.
Eazy-E's son, Lil Eazy-E, had auditioned for the role of his father, but according to Ice Cube, it just didn't work out. Lil Eazy was upset at first, but eventually became involved in coaching the actor Jason Mitchell, who portrays his father. This is crazy. The Jerry curl wigs used in the film, $15,000 each.
Gross.
This movie, Straight Outta Compton, scored the biggest opening ever for a musical biopic with a $56.1 million opening. And it beat out, I guess, Walk the Line from 2005. That
Good.
was, at that point, I guess up until that point, that was the number one.
Music biopic.
MC Ren, real name Lorenzo Patterson, a.k.a. the Villain in Black, was a fan favorite and major contributor to the songwriting talents of N.W.A. with the group member Ice Cube. When Ice Cube left N.W.A., MC Ren took over primary songwriting duties. Despite his popularity and success in the group, he was oddly relegated to being somewhat of a background character in the movie. This has angered some fans, including upsetting MC Ren himself, although he has additionally stated that he strongly supports the movie and its cast. So that's kind of a trip. I didn't know that about him, that he was like one of the main, he kind of took over songwriting duties. And yeah, he was kind of pushed back a little bit in the film.
They talked about it. Like there was after Cube ran off and did his own thing, they, a lot of scenes of Eazy-E supporting Ren. You know, being like, yeah, man, we didn't need Cube. Look, MC Ren holds his own. And he does. And, you know, part of the reason he probably was relegated to the background is he wasn't one of the producers.
Right.
That's what happens to your character when... That's what happens to your character when you're not paying the writers. You should have brought those dudes some croissants or something, man. You need to treat the writing room well. Future movie endeavors, make sure you bring donuts and coffee to the writing room at least once. Maybe bagels is their thing. If they're gluten allergies, you need to find out.
Let them know you're thinking about them. The actual letter that the FBI sent to the N.W.A. concerning Fuck the Police can be seen at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio.
That was the lamest. Just
what
ridiculous that they sent them that letter.
We're gonna ask you to cease and desist this song.
Right.
Stop performing it.
Stop singing this song.
This
It hurts our feelings. And what's so funny in the movie is when they went down, they're like, what is a fucking FBI? Like, we don't care about that. That was the L.A. Police Department. Then we'd be scared. They were scared of the L.A.
Write a follow-up. Fuck the FBI.
Nobody's talking about you, federales. You guys are fine with your manicures.
Calm down. This movie, which includes 293 instances of the word fuck and its variations, ranks number 16 on the list of films with the most F-bombs.
That's fucking great.
Fucking A, guys. Way to fucking go. Yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff here. A lot of these are very long-winded. Some of them are. This answered a question of mine. You know, the scene at the club where they first where Eazy-E and Ren come into the club after Cube has just, you know, with Dre and the Yellow and the marching jackets, and Cube just raps for the first time.
Yeah.
Those come in.
Right. Like, nice jacket. Nice jacket, bro.
The security guard asks Eazy-E, "Are you sure you want to be here? The club is full of pirates." And what that means is that was because MC Ren and Eazy-E were affiliated with the Kelly Park Compton Crips. I think Pyrus was with Bloods.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
And he's like, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know what that meant. I was like, you got bugs? It sounded like that.
Get your simple ass in the car. That was great. Yeah, there's a lot of good 80s slang there thrown around.
Yeah, and like the costumes, great. Like there were so many different things that I've forgotten about, like Carl Kanai jeans and the sweatshirts and everybody wearing Jordan everything, like Michael Jordan being
on everything.
On
everything. Got Jordan in your OJ. Jordan on your cereal.
And this is just cute here. Both Corey Hawkins and Neil Brown Jr., as well as Aldous Hodge, had roles on The Walking Dead. However, they were all in separate seasons.
Huh.
So that's neat. Just bring it back to that. So, yeah, I guess that's it. This is okay. We'll close the fun facts on this. Jerry Howler has stated that the falling out between himself and N.W.A. depicted in the film is almost completely fictional, but refuses to go into what actually happened between himself and Eazy-E towards the end of their working relationship, stating, "Eric isn't here to tell his side, so why should I?"
Perfect. You know, Jerry, I hope your takeaway on this is clear. You deserve a lobster brunch. I know it's not kosher, but you're like 75. What's one shellfish gonna do? Just have it. Just get some butter, get some lactate pills, a couple of days with nothing on the calendar, some reading material.
That he's lactose intolerant.
I'm just assuming as a he myself.
Well, coming at you for that one.
Well, I hope it hasn't damaged you to 1 point. What is it? Something like $110 million is what he's suing Dre and Cube and the estate of Eazy-E for. Really? I mean, that's not honorable. That's not honoring your friend at all. Just making a jackass of yourself.
So, guys, I would go out and just go for the full throwback if you have seen this film, or if you haven't seen this film already, go back and listen to some old N.W.A. records, some Ice Cube records.
I'm gonna go buy some Ice Cube albums right now, O'Shea. Not Ice-T albums. That'll come later.
Stuff and
That'll come later.
You know, listen to Dre. He's probably already getting some of your monies one way or another.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You've been paying Dre.
Right.
You might as well be intentional about it.
Right.
Check him out.
Star rating 1 through 5. How would you rate this?
Oh, 5. I want to own this movie.
Yeah, 5 as well. I have put it in the wish list to purchase.
Oh, sweet. I love you.
Obviously, you're down to watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am too. Guys, you can.
Bechdel test?
We're almost there.
Okay.
Guys, you can find this on demand on iTunes, rentable on Amazon Prime, and the Bechdel test.
There's also like a race Bechdel test.
There is.
The rectal test or something.
It's just the racial Bechdel test.
Okay.
Gross. For those of you who don't know, the Bechdel test is a type of litmus test to assess the presence of women in movies. It originated from Alison Bechdel's comic Dykes to Watch Out For in 1985.
We barely were aware that they had wives in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like when Ice Cube's wife, I'm assuming, shows up for the first time, Kim, I think, in Brian's office.
Yeah.
She just shows up. There's no explanation. Like, he says something about how's the new house, and she's just as gangster as.
Oh yeah,
is.
yeah. She's like, thanks for asking.
She's like, how do you like the redecorating of your?
Yeah, I like the remodeling of your office, not the new decor.
Right. Yes.
right. I
see why he locked it down.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You probably had a crush on her forever.
So the Bechdel test. It has to have at least 2 named women in it.
There was at least 2 named women in it.
Okay, you're right. Do they talk to each other?
Nope.
So that's it. So not surprisingly, this Straight Outta Compton does not pass the Bechdel test, but I believe it does pass the racial Bechdel test, and I think the qualifications for that is it has to have 2 named characters of color.
Yes.
They have to talk to each other.
Yes.
About something other than a white person.
Yes.
Yep.
Although they did spend a lot of time talking about Jerry, so now we know why he was an integral part of the story. Otherwise, you could not tell it unless they were talking about a white person.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, because that was all the beef. Because it was a case of divide and conquer. And Jerry was the main reason why Cube left. Because he wasn't getting his money. All right. So, yeah. That's it.
And eventually Dre.
Who had, like... God, guys, there's so much in this movie. Like, seriously, go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, right.
We can't...
How do you tell 5 grown-ass men's story?
Actually, there's 3, really. Because we didn't get too deep into Ren and Yellow.
True. But it's an appropriate cautionary tale, and get over yourself, Jerry. Like during your era, yeah, that's the way it worked, because you exploited the hell out of the artist.
Right.
With the technology we have today, the artist gets more fair play because it's easier to distribute. Everybody can get on iTunes. Hell, I might even record an album and put it on iTunes before I die. And Jerry, you're not getting any of it. Just deal with it.
So that's a good point. Is that this film has a lot to do. It is a cautionary tale as well as an inspirational
and
tale.
Historically relevant.
Yeah,
because that shit ain't gonna ever happen again.
This just fucking hits so many marks, and it's just a good, solid film. Like I said, my only problem is that initial casting call they had, and all the areolas I had to look at in this film. But other than that,
yeah, they showed the butt clapping. I was like, that's what they meant by make it clap. So that was important for people like me, honey. Because before I thought it would they just meant applause. Make them clap.
And on that note, please subscribe, follow, and like us all over the internet somewhere.
Thank you to our sponsor.
Yes, thanks to our sponsor.
I'm excited about this.
Horror Pack.
Monsters for our sponsors.
Yeah, so guys, if you like horror movies, make sure to check out our sponsor, Horror Pack, at horrorpack.com. And you can get $3 off your first month with the coupon code DOWNTOWATCHHP. And once again, follow us on Twitter at DTW Podcast. We're also on Facebook. Make sure to rate and review on iTunes if you have not done so. SoundCloud, you can follow us there. On SoundCloud and iTunes, we are listed under Rugged Angel Productions. So, yes. So, until next time, I'm Kahmeela.
I'm D, straight out of Leewood.
And we're peacing out.